all want to make money by doing something we love. If you could turn your hobby into your job, you'd never work a day in your life, right? Welcome to Hobby Hustle, the ultimate podcast where collecting passion and business collide. Now, here's your host, Zach Nygett.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 27 of Hobby Hustle. I am your host, Zach Nygett, and thank you so much for spending time with us. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And no matter if you've been here for a while or this is your first time listening, please be sure to like, subscribe, and of course, share us with your friends. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment or share any thoughts that you have. I greatly appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's guest is a lifelong collector who combined his love of cards in perfect condition into a successful business. In 2020, he saw a need for both quality hobby supplies as well as grading prep. With that in mind, he decided to build a company that could lead the card grading prep category through quality and innovation. Additionally, he has created a variety of branded retail products that you can see on shelves across the country. You can find him in person at many trading card shows across the nation or on Instagram at MrMinty_supply or his website, MrMinty.com. I'm honored to welcome a passionate collector, expert card prepper, and entrepreneur, Mr. Minty, to the show. Mr. Minty, how are you, my friend?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year to you, sir. I greatly appreciate your time to join us.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, hey, it's the new year. It's the hobby. So with 2025 just sort of getting going, what are your thoughts on the state of grading?
Oh, man, dude. Grading is bigger now than ever. 2025 is going to be such a big year for grading. PSA is investing so much money into going to more shows, taking in more subs, getting faster. It's going to be a wild year, and I don't see grading slowing down. It's going to grow in not only in sports, but in TCG and other categories. There's still many countries to tackle. This machine's not stopping.
Totally. And it's interesting that you bring up TCG because, you know, I try to keep an eye on, you know, those grading reports and some of these things that are out there. And TCG's really been leading the way, not only for grading, but also a lot of my friends that own hobby shops have told me that, you know, that's sort of their bread and butter staple. And obviously people still love cards, right? Sports cards. I mean, that's going to be the staple, but TCG has really, really found its footing, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. It's such a huge category, and you know it has a constant influx of young collectors that are into it, old collectors as well. You know, they were a bit slower to start grading, but grading's really catching on within the category, and Charizard never tears his ACL, so it's a little safer than a little less volatile than sports cards.
100%. Well, so hey, before we get into sort of all of the details about your business, I like with all my guests to take it back to the beginning and sort of learn more about your collecting origins. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into collecting and some of those early memories?
Yeah. I mean, my earliest memories was like 8, 9, 10 years old, trading with friends, going to the House of Cards in Wheaton, Maryland, and going to baseball games in Baltimore Orioles and Washington Wizards games. So they were the Bullets back then. Yeah. Games and getting autographs, you know. So those were some really fond hobby memories.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's what it was all about. I mean, I vividly remember, like, you know, I played a lot of basketball growing up, so we'd have our Saturday morning rec league basketball or whatever, and then it was like, okay, whose house are we going to trade cards? And that was just the best. It was a great way to spend the weekend or go, you know, ride our bikes at that time over to the local card shop or whatever it might be, and that's awesome. So I'm curious, though, you know, those are some of the early stuff. You know, what do you PC now? Sort of how has your collection evolved? What are you into?
Yeah, started the business with a lot of my collection. So I sold a lot of my collection, and I just made a top 10 list. And I made sure I had the top 10 cards that I wanted, you know, so I could feel good about my collection while I had to, like, you know, pause collecting, you know, for grading. But, you know, now that the Commanders are red hot and we finally have like some good players that, you know, I'm starting to build a little Jane Daniels collection. But, you know, some of the things in my PC are, you know, things I grew up with, like 80 stars like Don Mattingly and Michael Jordan. I came from the surf and action sports industry, so I have some rare Kelly Slater rookie cards and autograph cards, some cool surf stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So that's a first on the show for sure is to hear about the surfing cards. Obviously Kelly Slater is an absolute legend in that world. So just curious, like what brand put those out, or like where did those cards come from?
Yeah, so his first card is a 1987 Astro Boy card. They were sold in wax packs at like surf shops and stuff. And it was before that he was signed. He was 14 years old and he hadn't won a tour event yet. So that's his very first card. There's maybe like 7 or 8 of them in a 10. And then I have his first Futura card autographed. So his first pro card. So it's
Very
pretty
cool. That's awesome, man. Yeah, like I love learning about the intricacies of collectors, right? Because we're all so eclectic and into ours. So that's just really cool sort of tidbit. So I guess, obviously it sounds like you have some of the goats that you mentioned. Is there any sort of grail card that you're searching for right now, or you're just going to see what happens with Jaden Daniels and wait to invest in that?
I'm always looking to like upgrade my collection, like my Magic Bird rookie, I'd love to go from an 8 to a 9, but when running a business, you got to make sure that you keep all your profits, in the business. And it's in this great hobby of ours, it's really easy to go splurge all the time. So if it's not a strategic investment, it's just, I just got to focus on the business.
Totally. Well, I think that's really cool too, that you were able to leverage your collection to start the business, and obviously that's treated you well. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I sold a key piece of my collection, a Doug Williams PSA 10 rookie. There's 17 of them in the world, and I got enough money to start my own business, and then I was able to buy it back 3 years later.
That's amazing. And I love that it came full circle for you. So that's really cool. So let's talk a little bit about, how you got into this business, but obviously you haven't been in this full time your whole career. So can you tell us a little bit about those early years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I took the business full time in May, but earlier on, I was just collecting when my wife and I moved in together about 10 years ago. She worked on the weekends, and I found my weekends free to just cruise around California and buy big lots and find all these amazing cards that I grew up with that were back on the East Coast. And going through them, I started getting into grading and just kind of learning all the different aspects of grading. And I just spent hours and hours looking at cards and examining them, and really fell in love with it, and and saw the potential of cards getting 9s and 10s, and how much it really added value to the card. And and then come around like 2000, there weren't any products for doing what I wanted to do. I mean, there were some, but they were scattered all over the internet, and they weren't branded at all, and so I decided to do it. Earlier in my career, I was in the footwear industry, so I was designing and developing footwear for big brands like Reef and Oakley and DC Shoes, and so I was able to take a lot of that language and aesthetic from surf and skate culture, and apply it to sports cards.
Well, you've got a sharp looking logo that we can see on your t-shirt. So obviously some of that came over really well. And I do have to say that the teal and black stands out amongst the crowd, man. So job well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. It's a couple of years of art school helped out, it's, I think it all was worthwhile.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, the space was really underbranded at the time, and still is, it was really old and stodgy, didn't speak to any like the new collectors out there. A lot of the space wasn't direct to consumer. You couldn't buy Ultra Pro online. You had to buy it at a hobby shop. Same with BCW. I think they only sold like on Amazon. So there was really a lot of opportunity to bring some freshness and new products in the hobby, because the products were just scattered all over the internet, and there wasn't one place to find products for this emerging pre-grading category.
Yeah. So I'm curious about that. You've talked a little bit about, the pre-grading and how you spent time looking at the condition of cards. And you also are mentioning some of the retail products, being the supplies. So which sort of came first for you, or did you dive in and do it all at once?
Yeah. So, I was doing a lot of grading with PSA, and, helping some friends out as well. And then, as I mentioned, my job was designing and developing products, so I'd, manufacture overseas. I'd go to China, I'd design it, I'd import the products and stuff. And, I found myself, just wanting some products and, just decided to make them.
That's awesome. Well, obviously, you've been doing well, but everything takes sort of a bit of time to build. So, can you maybe talk to us about what strategies you use to help get your brand off the ground and let people know about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Authenticity is key, whether you're in, the surf skate industry or the high fashion industry or in, in sports cards. It's you have to be present and in the space. And, for me, it was hitting the pavement, going to all the shows, getting the brand out there, giving away free product, going to, Beckett conventions, just, getting to as many places as humanly possible and being active in the space and in the community. We have such a tight knit community. It's always growing, but it's a real passionate and authentic community, and you have to be a participant. We saw in during the pandemic, a lot of people tried to come into the space, tech companies, things like that really didn't have a foot in the ground in the space, and they weren't authentic, and they came in and they came out, in this hobby, you have to be there. You just can't live on the internet.
That is so true. And I think, it's important. I've talked with some of my other guests and I myself, being in person at shows, and it's not just about being seen, right? It's about building those relationships, like you're mentioning. And it is a super tight knit community. And I think that sometimes it gets lost, because we're in this social media age and era. And I don't know if that's ever going to change. But, the face to face conversations, you and I obviously met through, being at multiple shows and seeing each other numerous times and, enjoying conversations about a variety of topics. And here we are today, but I think that gets underrated for some people. And obviously I also know, that some of that stuff can get expensive. So it's not just these big shows that you have to be at, it's going to the local small shows and you can meet wonderful people there and have some really cool relationships too.
Absolutely. And it was definitely expensive, going out and hitting the pavement. But, it was definitely worth it because, those relationships are key, and now I can dial that back a bit and, spend a little more on social and things like that. But, if you're only on social, the internet can make you and break you, but it's, your relationships will keep you going long term.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, clearly, obviously, the pounding of the pavement, helped. And obviously, you've been doing some other things. But I'm curious, because you offer supplies, card prep, submission, sort of what aspect of your business drives the most, from the business perspective?
Yeah, interesting. It's they go hand in hand. And we're really transforming this into a one-stop shop where you can get, supplies, you can get great consulting, you can get submission service, and we just launched a partnership with Golden where we can, help collectors sell their collections as well. They all go hand in hand. One of the reasons I started the product line is collectors didn't know, right? There's no transparency in grading. And with so many new collectors out there, they were getting burned and they didn't understand why, card got X grade. Or, they found their childhood collection and they thought they struck gold to find out, that the card isn't worth that much. So, for me, I think just the consulting, the submission prep and the consulting that comes along with it is really the gem of the business, because many collectors don't know, and they want to know, and they want to, save time, they want to save money, and they also, want to make money, and as long as, grading takes a long time. So if they can hire somebody to help out in that process and give them quality information, it's really valuable.
Yeah. Well, let's, I don't want to get too in the weeds about every little detail, but, when you mentioned that about grading, takes a long time and that you can help them, I know that you offer like drop off services or you have in the past. Can you sort of tell the audience a little bit about sort of what that grading prep and things that you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're 10 minutes away from PSA. So we drop off and pick up from PSA several times a week. our grading prep service is a consultant service. So we, collectors send us their collectibles. It goes through a rigorous 30-point inspection, full transparent reporting on all the four major condition attributes: surface, centering, edges, and corners. We give it a grade, not only for the card but for the auto, and also recommendations on who to grade it with based on the attributes. And then we get it prepped and ready for grading. So it's really an end-to-end service. So if the card's going to make the grade, we'll consult with the customer, based on the comp, saying, hey, it's worth it to grade. If it's not worth it, we're going to be transparent with them as well, because we want to help them make the best decision, for their collection.
Yeah, well, that's huge and valuable because, like you said, grading can add up, and so to be able to get a heads up, and I can't tell you how many times, I've had yourself look at a card or some other friends, and it's like, you're looking like, oh, this is perfect. And then someone like yourself is like, did you notice this corner, or did you notice this scratch? Or, you guys just have a different eye for this, which is huge because it can save you potentially hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, depending on the type of card we're talking about. Now, you mentioned different grading companies. You also mentioned your 10 minutes from PSA. Talk to me a little bit about sort of the breakdown. Obviously, I'm assuming majority of your clients go with PSA because there's some value and prestige that's been built up, but there's still the Beckett's, there's the SGCs, and there's a lot of other companies. Can you talk to us sort of about that breakdown of how many or percentage or just ballpark of who you send to and maybe some of the reasons why?
Yeah, I mean it's 99% PSA. It's so close. We'll do Beckett and SGC primarily at shows. So Beckett does on-site grading at the Dallas show and several shows across the country. I love using that service. And then SGC has a lot of drop-off locations at shows across the country. So I like using that service as well. They're all great grading companies. They all grade differently, and we try to find the best, value, speed, time, value, matched, for our customers. For me, security is really important. So, I want to make sure that I'm hand delivering these collectibles, to the grading company and not, shipping them off.
Yeah. So I have a question there then, because hand delivery sounds premium, and maybe a little bit more expensive. So is there a certain like level of card that you typically do, or can people do like bulk submissions through you, or sort of how does that work?
Yeah, I do all submission levels.
Okay.
So we do charge a premium on top of the market rate, for our white glove service.
Sure.
But for many collectors, it's just the trust and security is unmatched.
100%. And I'm not discrediting that at all. I just was curious to make sure that if people watching maybe don't have big cards, and they want to submit a bunch, that they're able to do that through you. That's really interesting. I want to back up also. You'd mentioned that you have a partnership with Golden going on. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about sort of what that entails?
It's something that we just signed off on, and it's just a way to offer liquidity for my clients. Some of them, they're personal collections. Many of them are flippers or breakers, or guys that just are trying to move some cards. So if we can take a step out of the process for them, we do that. So we would take the card, we would ship it to Golden for auction, and then pay them out after the auction is ended.
That's awesome. And what a cool, sort of built-in feature, right? To be able to, like you said, offer that liquidity. I mean, that's a huge part of this hobby. Is obviously some collectors want to have certain things that they'll lock up in the PC, but for most of us, there's always that something else you want to get, and to be able to get there, you need cash. And so to be able to have an option like that is really huge. So congrats on that. That's an exciting partnership, it sounds like.
Thanks. Yeah. I appreciate it. We're really excited for it. And, it's all about service in this hobby. Like, people sell you anything in this hobby, but there's not a lot of service, and it's, collectors really need it. Collectors have a lot of questions, and we're just trying to make it easy for them.
Yeah, totally. I love that. So, we've talked about card supplies, card prep, grading submissions. there's obviously a lot of options for consumers. And I know that you mentioned that, you're close to PSA, so that's definitely a differentiator. But can you talk to us about what else separates you sort of from other competition in the hobby?
Yeah, it's one-on-one service. It's service is the key. Not only do we offer full line of branded products, but our consulting is just really unmatched. We provide a level of detail to our collectors, so they really understand what's going on with their asset to help them make a great decision. Another thing that separates us out is that we're a substance-free brand. And I'll talk a little bit about this in a bit, but we don't use polish on any of our submissions. Items aren't going to get flagged by PSA or other grading companies. So it's really a brand and a process that you can trust.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Card cleaning has become a hot topic in the hobby in the last year. So talk to me about it and sort of how or if that's impacted your business in any way.
Yeah, it definitely was a hot topic last year, and it certainly impacted my business. It really was an opportunity in disguise. And it was something that we were ready for. It's something that really emerged and grew over the past, 2-3 years. And the internet was faster than, the grading companies. So there was more content coming out about it and positive attributes than the grading companies putting their stance out. So the optics of it were very positive, but PSA came out and put their stance on it, and I had a feeling that was going to come down the pipe anyway, and we were prepared. So we worked with PSA and on our product line, and we're coming out with a new product as a result. So starting 2025, it's a new year. We're a substance-free brand now, so we've removed our polish from all of our products. We're rebranding our kit
Oh, look at that.
as a grading submission kit. So everything collectors need for prepping and grading: magnifier centering tool, microfiber wipes, sleeves, submission holders. But as I mentioned, it was an opportunity in disguise. And in order for us to grow, we want to live within the hobby guidelines. And it was important for us to act ethically. So it was an easy decision.
So just curious, previously you had the polish in the kit. That's been removed. Obviously, that's awesome because that sort of looks like the one-stop shop supplies you need.
Yeah,
I'm assuming
we
that
also removed the card tool as well.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so,
Okay,
yeah.
I was going to ask if there was something else.
Yeah, PSA didn't like that, and again, it was just an easy decision, right? We submit a lot through PSA, and submissions are only growing, so it was really easy to kind of shift gears from from cleaning into concentrating more on submissions.
Okay, I love that. So I guess with the new PSA guidelines, you're very familiar with this, but for the audience, maybe they might not be as familiar. So can you talk us through a little bit sort of the major don'ts and the major do's, sort of what's accepted and what's not?
Yeah, the because of how fast the internet works, I think the differentiation between prepping and altering really got blurred. And this new term cleaning came about. But yeah, PSA is a-okay with prepping a card, wiping down the card, getting it ready for grading submission. What they're not okay with is trimming a card, altering a card, putting polish on a card, and soaking a card. Those are things that they're not okay with. As a partner with them, as a business partner with them, I want to make sure that my brand is, aligned with their rules.
100%. And I think it makes sense, right? And the fact that, you are a big submitter and obviously it's part of your business is the card, prep and consulting to be able to offer that new kit is awesome. And I'm throwing up the banner, but if people are listening, again, you can go to Mr. Minty's website at Mr. Minty, and that's and Mr is just MR. So MRMINTY.com, which is awesome. And you got a really easy to use website with some great resources on there. So go check out that package. And just so we can tell the audience, what does that kit sell for?
It'll be $50 and it'll be available Monday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this episode will air Wednesday. So by the time it airs, you guys will be able to go to his website and buy that. So hopefully some people will take advantage of that. That's great.
You know, and with those changes allowed us to really kind of double down on the prep and evaluation category. So we're launching a lot of cool new products this year as well. So things like handheld magnifiers, light wands that you see me use at the show for inspecting, mats, and as well as something that I'm really excited for, digital microscope.
Oh, wow.
For guys that really want to get down and dirty, with their collection. So yeah, just opportunities in disguise.
100%. So I'm curious, are all those products you just showed still in development, or those are all going to be available, or sort of let us know about that?
So this product will go live Monday, and the rest of the products are in shipping and will be live on the site end of January.
Very cool. So I might ask a silly question, but if I'm thinking it, maybe somebody else is out there. Magnifying glasses make sense, right? And some of this other stuff. But the light wand, I'm curious, what is the main purpose and benefit of something like that?
Sure. Yeah. It's all about being able to see what's going on with your card. And, from traveling from show to show, every light is different, right? Some shows are bright lit, some are dark, and it's being able to control your ability to see the card. So it's a 500 what's it called? A 500 lumen light wand, super bright, so you can see everything going on with your card. And what the most commonly missed attribute of the card is the backside surface. So this will allow you to see everything that's going on, indents, pitting, creases, bump corners, you name it.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I appreciate that. And like I said, sorry if that was a silly question. It makes total sense now you explained it, but it's just, it's like some things don't always jump out to you. Well, hey, this is like really cool that, obviously you've had a lot of success. You've been going to the shows, you've been meeting people, but I know that, that takes time and that's not always easy. So could you maybe tell us about some of the challenges that you've had to overcome to get to this point? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, definitely the PSA thing was probably the biggest challenge that I've had so far, and it's, I had to radically, shift gears and pivot, but it was really worth it. It allows me to kind of just exit this gray area in the space and go full throttle with the brand and the products that we're offering, with full confidence, which makes me really happy.
That's great. And maybe, just curious, any sort of insight from marketing or people who are looking to build their brand, within this space. Can you sort of shed some light or some suggestions on maybe the things that have worked for you?
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, hitting the pavement and being there, being in the community is number one. But you can't underestimate the power of social media. Instagram is so powerful. This hobby used to be very personal. As a kid, I would just collect in my room. Not all my friends collected, very few of them did. But now, collecting is very social. You share your hits on social media. You were doing live breaks. So anything social, just post is a great way to, to grow your following and engage with the community.
Yeah, love that. And I agree. It's important. Sometimes it's harder to, execute, but if you can make the time, it does seem to pay off and definitely attract some new people. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And, in this space, in this hobby is only growing, so it's like, you can't be afraid to put out a post or to make a reel, you just got to do it.
Yeah. So speaking of growing, I mean, obviously you shared with us that you have some new products on the way. You have this partnership with Golden. Like, where do you see some other sort of big potential wins for you within what you're doing in the hobby?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did a lot of shows last year, about two per month. We're cutting it down to one this year, and really, we're gonna double down on the live shopping. So Whatnot, Fanatics Live, Amazon as well.
Cool.
We've really geared up for the product end to scale that side of the business while also supporting the service end as well.
All right. I love it. So just curious, do you have those live shopping platforms up and running yet, or that's still in the works?
Not yet, but we're they're coming soon.
Okay, I just want to make sure because if we can get some sort of name or link out there, we're happy to get whatever we can out there for you.
Yeah, there'll be Mr. Minty supply on both platforms.
Awesome. Very cool. I love that. That's great. So you've obviously had a ton of success. There's been some bumps in the road, but I think it's important for us to, sort of take the good and the bad. And I want to take a minute to ask you to reflect on sort of what's been your favorite aspect of this journey so far.
Yeah, hands down, my favorite aspect is owning my own business. For years I was working my day job, doing this at night, barely sleeping, and just being able to wake up every day and do something that I love, serve the hobby, is really really special. And getting recognized for it and being told thank you by my clients is also really special. So it's I just wake up every day blessed and just ready to grind.
Yeah, and it's so cool that you've been able to have the success to transition away from, part-time to becoming full-time. That in and of itself is an amazing achievement. So congratulations there. And then on top of that, to be able to have people really like what you're doing is even more special. So as you said, this hobby is all about the relationships, and you're doing a really great job with all of that. So congrats.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So
It comes from an authentic place.
And that's so important. Like you said, like this hobby sees through a lot of the BS. There is a lot of BS in it, and there's a lot of really good people. And of course, there's some bad actors. But I think in anything too, though, just the formula is if you're passionate about it, if you're willing to put yourself out there, and if you truly put 100% of what you have into it, good things will happen. Now, it might not happen overnight. And
No,
clearly on your journey,
it didn't happen overnight.
Time. Yeah, but
I built this business for 2.5 years. Between on lunch breaks and between like 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. There's a lot of low sleep nights. Putting on 30 pounds. Like it's but it's all worth it, and I do it again in a heartbeat.
Totally. Well, like I said, it's paying off, and that's what matters, right? And I think that's one thing that we got to be consistent about. Speaking about the social media digital age, I think one of the downsides is that everybody sees success and they just assume that it comes right away. So the fact that, you speak to it, my other guests have spoken to it, I've spoken to it personally, that it's a grind, and you've got to be willing to do it. But the benefit is exactly what you said, and that is being able to work for yourself and call your own shots. And there's not a price that can be put on that.
Absolutely not.
That's awesome. So speaking of sort of positivity and stuff, the next 24 months, 12 months, what are sort of some of the goals that you might have?
Yeah. So, live shopping. We're gearing up for the Amazon launch in January. So those are like two of the really big goals.
Yeah.
Hires, things like that. But yeah, I take the say yes approach. So like a lot of opportunities come my way. A lot of people reach out. And I try to say yes as much as possible. As long as it makes sense. It's I'm very fortunate to do what I do and to love it. And when everything is going together, the opportunities come in abundance.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think that there's a lot of importance, right, to sort of taking a leap of faith sometimes. And you never know where an opportunity, a meeting, might lead to some really incredible things. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
One thing that I didn't ask you that you mentioned that just made me think about that, though, is you said hires. You're not a one-man show then. I assume you have other people that work with you or for you. Is that right?
Yeah. So I've got a really small team, but in order to scale, you've got to hire.
Yeah.
I do a lot of outsourcing, whether it's for graphics or, some social media aspects, some virtual assistant aspects, so anything that can help me free up some time, I try to do, because, I wear multiple hats, and, things like accounting, I can't do it anymore, so I've got to outsource it.
Yep. No, I get it. I just think that's great though, because I think that sometimes we forget that, what appears to be a one-man show or a very small business has a lot of tentacles and can affect other people's lives in a positive manner. So it's not only supporting you as Mr. Minty and your brand, but it's also the people that you're able to support as well through, the hiring and the work that you're offering. And I think that's really awesome.
Shout out to Ryan Meltzer.
There you go, Ryan. Very cool. Well, Mr. Minty, this has been amazing. I appreciate that you took the time to speak with us. But before I let you go, I like to ask all my guests sort of if you could give one piece of advice to aspiring entrepreneurs coming into this space, what might that be?
Just do it.
I love it. Simple. I'm with you though. I think this year, if it's taught me anything, it is to just do it. Putting yourself out there and like you said, following those passions can lead to some incredible spaces and places.
Don't overthink it. You just got to try it. Just do it. Put your feet in the water. Make that post, write that business plan. Just get started. The people that think about it, never get anything done. You just got to get it started.
Yep, I love that. I love that. Well, before I let you go, we'll do a shameless plug. Do you want to tell the audience where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me Mr. Minty _supply on all the socials and MrMinty.com. And you can find me at shows across the country. I'll be at Dallas, Burbank, National, Fanatics. So I hope to see you guys at a show.
Well, I definitely will see you there. And just for everybody, again, listening and not watching, the Mr. is just MR, not spelled out. So Mr. Minty _supply or MrMinty.com. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. You have
a lot of fun, dude.
You have an amazing story, and I really appreciate that you took time to share it with us. I'm excited to see your new products rolling out. That's really exciting. And I love that you've been able to take this passion of collecting and turn it into your full-time job. So I'm wishing you a happy and healthy new year to you and your family. And likewise. I hope that you have an amazing 2025.
Thank you. Likewise, buddy. I appreciate you having me on. Really fun talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you at upcoming shows.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great one.
You too.
Everyone out there watching, thank you for taking time to tune in. I hope that you learned something new or found some inspiration. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and of course, share with your friends. And remember, keep collecting, keep hustling, and we'll see you next week on Hobby Hustle, where collecting passion and business collide. Thanks so much.
Hobby Hustle is brought to you by Collector Creative. If you're a collectible brand or company looking for help with marketing, branding, design, or development, head over to collectorcreative.com and drop Zach a line. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at collector_creative. And be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on Hobby Hustle, where collecting passion and business collide.